Alright, in today's video we're taking a look back at everything that made 2024 an incredible year for War Thunder. From major updates to events, my personal ratings for this year's updates, plus stick around for some predictions for 2025. And quickly, just to say thanks to everyone who watched and subscribed to my channel this year. I was really not expecting to reach over 300 subscribers. With that out of the way, let's dive into a review of War Thunder in 2024. First up, let's talk about the major updates and features that defined 2024. This year brought us some incredible changes, from the Seek and Destroy update, introducing active radar homing missiles for all nations, to the Dance of Dragons update, where one of the standout additions was satellite guided bombs, which added a new layer of strategy to CAS and base bombing. We also saw significant improvements in visuals, gameplay mechanics and quality of life features, such as DirectX 12 and ray tracing support, and the new map zoom modes for planes. It's clear that 2024 was a year of pushing the boundaries for War Thunder on a technical level. Now we've explored the standout features and improvements of 2024, let's take a moment to evaluate the major updates themselves. How do they stack up individually? Here's how I personally rank the big updates from 2024 based on impact, fun factor and overall community reception. I will note, however, I don't really take the naval features into account as I don't really touch this game mode. First up, we have the first update of 2024, Alpha Strike. This update added some good quality of life features, such as aircraft fuel sliders and the sensor view in battle replays. It of course added a variety of vehicles that was arguably more air focused, with the main additions being the Hungarian air tech tree as a sub-tree for Italy, alongside with the Alpha Jet that the update was named for. In terms of standout premium vehicles, it added a few rank 7 main battle tanks, such as the Israeli Ram Segal and the Swedish Christian II. Overall, I'll give this update, based on the impact of its additions and the community sentiment, for this one a 7 out of 10. Next up, we have the Seek and Destroy update. This update was arguably the most meta-defining, at least for Air RB, as it added active radar homing missiles, aka Fox 3s, for all nations at top tier, along with some new rank 8 top tier jets, such as the F-15C and Su-27SM. It also added the Benelux air sub-tree to France, along with separate selection for flare and chaff for planes. It did also add a handful of ground vehicles, but again this was mainly an air focused update. It also added the first pass of expanded damage modelling for select ground vehicles. This included more internal modules and destroyable tyres for wheeled vehicles. Overall, I would rank this 9 out of 10, based on how meta-defining the addition of Fox 3 was, and how effective the new top tier jets were when they were added. For the next update, we have the Dance of Dragons. In terms of new vehicles, this update added a few standouts, such as the Chinese J-10A, along with long-time requested variants such as the US A-10C and the Su-24M. It was a very strong close air support addition for the Soviet tech tree. The main bulk of the new vehicles, however, were the addition of the French coastal tree for naval players. In terms of other additions, this update added satellite guided bombs, which allowed for some new tactics in matches, as well as the first iteration of customisable crosshair reticles for ground vehicles, which was definitely a welcome feature at high tier. Overall, I would rate this update a 7 out of 10. This is a little lower due to it feeling like less vehicles were added overall, and it was mainly focused on French naval and Chinese additions. For the fourth update of the year, we had the Firebirds update. This update was an interesting one. It added a host of new graphics options, such as DirectX 12 support and ray tracing. This was a welcome addition, though not without issue for some players. In terms of vehicles, it added a few interesting standouts, such as the premium rank 8 Swedish jet, the JA-37DI. This is the first premium jet with Fox 3 missiles, and opened the door to additions for other nations. For ground players, this added Dutch Leopards to the French tech tree, and a selection of vehicles across most nations, such as the OSA AK to multiple tech trees to add more SPAA options. This update also added a new squadron vehicle with the F-117 Nighthawk, the first plane with stealth capability in War Thunder. However, this is very interesting as it has no air-to-air armament whatsoever. This does make it unique, however arguably it is not that useful overall as there's no means to defend itself from other aircraft, and relies entirely on its stealth for survivability. The Firebirds update also added the Tornado GR4 to the British air tech tree, along with Brimstone missiles. Controversially, these were added with the semi-active laser homing mode only, not the fire and forget millimeter wave radar that they have in real life. Opinion on this decision is quite split amongst different sections of the community, with many happy that they have not been added with their IRL capability as they would be very powerful, but some players feeling let down that they have not been added with their full capability. Overall, I would rate this update an 8 out of 10. The new vehicle additions were interesting, the new graphic additions were good, but some players did face issues and the update itself was seemingly delayed and had quite a few bugs on release. And finally, we have the last update of 2024, Storm Warning. This added a new ground map and expanded further on the customisable reticles for tanks. It also added a new profile screen, which seems to have a mixed reaction from the community. The main change added by this update was an increase in battle rating to 14.0 for air modes, along with bumping up most of the current top tier jets to this new battle rating. It also added the two main feature vehicles of the update, the Eurofighter Typhoon and the French Rafale, which have been long awaited by the community. In terms of the bulk of the new vehicles for this update, there was the addition of the Thai subtree to the Japanese air tech tree. This gives the Japanese air tree a much needed variety and CAS options. For ground RB, this update added some anticipated vehicles such as the German Panzerhaubitze 2000, which was also added as a Hungarian premium for the Italian tech tree. Speaking of artillery, this update also added the M44 to multiple tech trees, with some players feeling disappointment at copy-paste vehicles being added. This update also added the highly anticipated BMD-4M, which many players were expecting to be a tech tree counterpart to the old event vehicle BMD-4. However, this was only added as a premium vehicle, despite the devs previously stating a tech tree variant would be added. Overall, this update did indeed add some highly anticipated vehicles, such as the Eurofighter and the Rafale, which are arguably the best jets in game currently, so it will be interesting to see what other nations receive to bring them in line with these jets in the future. With these aside, however, the update didn't quite feel as big as previous year's final updates, which usually tend to add major features, with previous years adding rank 8 ground and air vehicles respectively, for example. Overall, I would give this update an 8 out of 10. It will be interesting to see the direction the game takes in the next update and the following year. Overall, I think it's fair to say that most of the additions of this year's updates have been overly air focused, with some additions to ground, though these additions have not been as impactful compared to previous year's updates. What were your ratings for 2024's updates? Let me know in the comments if you'd rate them differently. Now let's go over the events for 2024. Highlights included the most recent winter event, Winter Tales, with its grind for multiple vehicles, the standouts of which were the Colombian Kafir C-10 event vehicle for the Israeli tech tree, and the Pakistani T-80UD variant for the Chinese tech tree. Overall, the event and the vehicles seem to be well received by the player base. There was also this year's Dreams Come True event, a relatively recent event type from the past few years, where the devs add a highly requested and usually unique vehicle as an event reward. This year's reward was the KV-7 tank with its triple gun design. This was a fun vehicle, though in terms of unique vehicles for Dreams Come True events, nothing quite compares to 2022's Sturm Tiger with its 380mm rocket mortar. There were also around a dozen other events throughout the year that rewarded vehicles, with some standouts including the first event of the year, Call of the Dragon, which rewarded the Object 292 event vehicle for the Soviet tech tree, which is a tank with a large caliber 152mm cannon. This was a relatively fun vehicle offering a slightly different playstyle to the other tanks in the tech tree. Another standout event was October's Mobile Sniper event. This rewarded the Boxer MGS variant for Germany. This is a Boxer variant armed with a 105mm cannon. This was again a fun vehicle, though not groundbreaking. Some players highlighted the fact that there are now two Boxer variants for Germany, which are only available as event vehicles. The devs have yet to add a tech tree Boxer variant for Germany. Maybe one could pop up in 2025. Do you think this will be a possibility? Let me know in the comments. And finally, I would not be able to mention 2024 event vehicles without talking about the Persian Tomcat event and its now infamous reward, the Iranian F-14A. For some players, this vehicle and its Fakor 90 active radar homing missiles are an absolute terror at its BR range, with lots of discussion amongst the player base about its BR being adjusted. I think it would be safe to say this has been the most impactful event vehicle this year, at least as far as air vehicles are concerned. Here's hoping 2025 gives us equally exciting event vehicle rewards. Finally, let's look ahead to 2025. Based on hints, reliable leakers and the trends we've seen, I'm expecting additional top tier SPA vehicles for most nations, in line with the effectiveness of the Panzer, to give other nations effective counters to close air support. One example may be the British tracked rapier system, which was teased in the Looking into 2025 decal that was added to the game recently. Similar to the above, it's also quite likely that at least one variant of the F-18 will be added, as this is also in the 2025 decal and has been on multiple leak lists from reliable leakers throughout the year. In terms of new capabilities, there have also been leaks and data mines relating to seed or suppression of enemy air defence with anti-radiation missiles, so it's possible this new weapon system gets added or at least tested this year. This could add an interesting new gameplay layer and could even open up the possibility of AI or player controlled heavy surface to air missile systems such as the S-300 or Patriot to ground battles, which would definitely shake up the close air support meta of high tier ground RB matches. It could also be likely that we see other stealth capable planes added, as the F-117 squadron vehicle was clearly added as a testbed for stealth capability in game. For ground, it may be likely we see an additional ground forces subtree. This could be in the form of Singapore, which was originally leaked to be part of Japan but then controversially also reported to be added for China. There's also the possibility of the rumoured Polish or Eastern European new tech tree, which personally I think would be very interesting and would add a lot of options. And finally, for some more wildcard style guesses for 2025 editions. For air, this may be cluster bombs. These have been mentioned in a few leak lists from the reliable leakers over the year. These would be very effective, though may not have been added at this point, as they have the potential to be very overpowered. In terms of wildcard additions for ground, this is my guess, but it would be a BMPT Terminator variant. Whilst this has not been on any of the recent leak lists, and its IRL effectiveness is debated, from a War Thunder standpoint it's a very unique vehicle, so it would likely be added as an event or Dreams Come True vehicle. There are also multiple variants, so they could even add them to the tech tree and as a premium, which I imagine would print money for the devs. And finally, for some wishlist style features, I would like the devs to rework the tech trees so they are not limited with the 5 lines per tech tree limit that they currently have. This would allow for more interesting progression and layout and a clearer integration of subtrees for the nations that have them. And my final wishlist feature would be electronic warfare and electronic countermeasures. This would have the potential to completely flip the top tier meta, shaking things up greatly. Do you have any predictions for 2025? Let us know in the comments. And that brings this War Thunder 2024 review to a close. This year brought so much to the game, and it's been amazing to experience it all with the community. Thanks for all your watching, liking and support of the channel this year. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe and notification button for more War Thunder content. Thanks for watching.